Hello everyone, my name is Paul Third and I'm raging because I just done a full 16-minute video and that thing over there, this thing over here, decided to stop recording, and it was a great take and the Scotland game's on and I'm missing it as we speak. So this week I have got a shootout for you, a very good shootout, 1176 LA2A vocal trick. I've got two different sets of hardware and I've even got UAD, the plugin forms, and I've also got free plugins. Analog Obsession, free plugins. You've been pestering me for months to do this, and I've included it. So we've got hardware versus hardware, plugins versus plugins, plugins versus hardware. This is just a very fun test of the sim differences, what we prefer, what differences we hear. So let's get straight into it. All right. Very quick, 1176. Fast attack, fast release, in series going into an LA2A. So the 1176 is catching your peaks, right? And then you're using a slow opto like an LA2A to basically smooth all of that kind of harsh compression out and make it all nice and smooth. And then hopefully it comes out at you just a little bit more. All right, so let's get straight into it, okay? We've got the 1176 hitting about 3 to 5 dB of compression. We've got the LA2As hitting about 5 to 7 dB of compression. That's just the way that I like to do it. All right, so let's just get straight into it, okay? So first off, let's have hardware versus plugins. Let's have Analog Obsession. Analog Obsession is free. You go on his Patreon. You don't have to join the Patreon, but it's nice if you do to support these guys. You go on his Patreon. He's got a big massive list of everything he's made and the download links are there. If you're a Pro Tools user like me, you're going to have to use something like Meta Plugin or a VST wrapper because most of his plugins aren't, or I don't know if they all are, but these plugins that I've got aren't AAX supported. So I'm using Meta Plugin, okay? So that's the Blackface 1176 LN and also his Lala plugin. I don't know which LA2A he's modelled. So we're comparing that against the Access Analog. Now Access Analog is in your DAW. You can stream it lossless. It's a plugin. I've done lots of Access Analog stuff before. I trust it, okay? So we've got the 1176 LN, the Blackface 1176, and we've got a Universal Audio LA2A, which I've already done a shootout of before, versus Tim P, Slate Digital, and stuff like that. Okay, so I already know what that sounds like. So kind of like for like, okay, kind of, right? I'm not expecting these to sound identical. I'm not trying to get them to sound identical. I've just set them the same way, tweaked where possible, to see if I can get like the best sound out of each. Okay, so this is the vocal. I'm going to show you solo side by side and in the context of a mix as well. Okay, so free plugins versus Access Analog's two sets of hardware. Let's do it.
She never applied for pictures or portraits. 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 Though her past still shines bright, I never required a sailing of fortune till a silent stoplight from keeps fading away, saving perfume in haze. Hey, baby, won't you pass them by? Hey, baby, no evils or gods will hide. Hey, baby.
So, unbelievably, now I was way more shocked in the first video, but because I'm trying to wrap this up, I'm just going to say, yes, I'm very, very surprised how close it is. It's free. I did not expect it to be as good as that was there. It's honestly, I actually prefer it to the hardware. And again, because as soon as I say that, it's going to be like, all the trolls are going to come out now. All the analog Luddites will be like,
No, he done it. He said it again. He said it again. It's not possible. Free plugins. Free
I don't know why this Scottish accent's coming out, but
free plugins. Free plugins. Free plugins cannot sound like hardware. They cannot sound better than hardware. It is not possible. It's not possible, Paul.
well, it is fucking possible, right? It just happened, right? It is what it is. It's all subjective. This guy's a very good developer. Just because he makes them for free doesn't mean that they're going to be shit, all right? It's very, very subjective. I had to take off a lot high end off of analog obsession stuff. I have to tell you that. Out of the box is very harsh in the highs, very harsh. So in the 1176 and the LA2, I had to basically kind of compress all of the highs and just take more harshness. It was just too sibilant, it was too harsh. But once I took all that harshness out, I just kind of found it was very similar to the hardware. And actually, I prefer it. I think it comes out of you a little bit more. The LA2, the UAD LA2, is very dark. It just is what it is. It's just a very dark sounding compressor. And I think it's the analog obsession. Maybe you dialed it just to be a little bit more brighter, which is what I prefer. Either way, it's very subjective. Let's move on to the next one. So, next up, we have got mixed analog. And I'm just going to admit it is quite annoying because for Access Analog, I was able to have the 1176 and the LA2 chained together, where in mixed analog you have to do it separately. So basically what I had to do was have one session for the 1176, bounce that, go into another session, put that bounced file into the LA2A and then bounce that and then put it into the DAW. It's a little bit of a hassle. But if it sounds better, then I suppose it's all worth it. Eh? So mixed analog has the blue stripe 1176. It's they call it dystopic. The dystopic stuff is basically just their own custom-made versions of the hardware. I think they get all the parts and basically kind of like similar to what White Sea Studio done.
The shit.
Kind of what he done, how he made his own SSL bus compressor. They kind of do that, but they've done it with an 1176. They've also done it with the Fairchild, and you can check out the Fairchild comparison. I'll put a link to it somewhere in the description. So they've got the blue stripe 1176, which is what CLA uses, and they've also got vintage Teletronix LA2, the original. This is basically, in a nutshell, CLA's 1176 and 2A kind of vibe. So I've got the mixed analog CLA compressors, and I'm comparing that versus the UAD. So I've got the blue stripe 1176 and I've got their Teletronix LA2 as well. Again, set the exact same way. So I'll show you solo and I'll also show you in the context of a mix. Is it going to be as close as the last one? Am I going to prefer the plugins again? Let's find out.
She never applied for pictures or portraits. 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 She never applied. She never applied for pictures or portraits. 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 Though her past still shines bright, I never required a sailing of fortune till a silent stoplight from keeps fading away, saving perfume in haze. Hey, baby, won't you pass them by? Hey, baby, no evils or gods will hide. Hey, baby, I've been looking there for your love.
Right, okay, so In terms of that one, there's way more differences there. I've got a feeling it's possibly the Burrell converters, because mix analog use Burrell converters, which have got transformers in them. There's a harshness in the mix analog that I don't like. It's got more sibilance in it. Some people might listen to this and go, know what, like, I think that the mix analog is coming out a little bit more. I think it's possibly the high end. I can tame the high end with the UAD because you've got kind of a high frequency, kind of plus or minus, and you can kind of dial that to test. I didn't use it on this one, but I actually can add in more highs and take away more highs, which you can do in the analog obsession as well. I just feel that the UAD deals with the high end sibilance way better, and it's way smoother than the top end, and I prefer it. Yes, the mix analog, you can hear it's got a little bit more colour, which I think is maybe coming from the Burrells, but it's got this, it doesn't deal with the high end, it's too sibilancy, it's just, it's very, very subjective. Some people might actually prefer it in the context of a mix. I just don't like my compression to kind of bring out the sibilance more. So in this kind of specific example of this song, I prefer the UAD here. In terms of this test, the differences are almost night and day. I can tell them very, very quickly and very, very easily. But again, very, very, very subjective. So guys, thank you very much for your time. I'll see you again next week on Mixing Wednesdays.